She thought no one would fight for a quiet man in a wheelchair. She thought towing his van at 3 a.m. would go unnoticed. But when the sheriff pulled into our street the next morning, Karen finally realized something. Some neighbors don't shout. Some neighbors document everything. "Where's my van?" The words came out thin and confused, like the air had been knocked out of them. I looked up from my coffee and saw Henry sitting in his wheelchair at the edge of his driveway, staring at the empty space beside his ramp. For a second, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then it hit me. His van was gone. Henry's van wasn't just a vehicle, it was his legs, a white wheelchair-accessible van with a hydraulic lift on the side. Without it, he couldn't leave the house, couldn't get groceries, couldn't go to physical therapy, couldn't do much of anything. And now the space where it should have been was just empty concrete. The morning air was quiet the way it usually was on our street. Pine trees rustled lightly behind the houses. Sprinklers clicked across the lawns. Somewhere a dog barked lazily. Our neighborhood was built to look peaceful, a gated HOA community tucked just outside town. The kind of place with trimmed hedges, quiet streets, and rules about mailbox colors. I moved here 3 years ago because of that quiet. I worked remotely, keep to myself, wake early, drink coffee on the porch, watch the sun slide through the trees. Routine matters to me. Noise doesn't. Drama especially doesn't. Henry moved in about a year after I did. Retired mechanic, Vietnam veteran, lost the use of his legs after a stroke 2 years ago. He wasn't loud, didn't complain, just rolled his chair down his ramp every morning, watered the flowers his late wife planted, and waved if you happened to pass. We understood each other. Quiet neighbors, low maintenance. The van disappearing broke that quiet like a rock through glass. "You sure it wasn't stolen?" I asked. Henry shook his head slowly. "No, broken glass, no tracks. And look," he pointed toward the curb. A bright orange sticker clung to the mailbox post. "Tow notice, HOA enforcement." My stomach tightened, because I already knew whose idea that was. Karen Whitfield, president of the HOA. Karen liked rules the way some people like oxygen. Roam rules, lawn rules, decoration rules, trash can visibility rules. Last month she cited someone because their wind chimes were audibly disruptive. She liked to patrol the neighborhood in a white golf cart like a mall cop with a clipboard, and she hated anything she couldn't control. I walked over and peeled the notice off the post. Violation, commercial vehicle parked overnight, unauthorized modification visible. I looked back at Henry's driveway. Commercial vehicle, unauthorized modification. They meant the wheelchair lift. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. Henry didn't laugh. His hands just rested on the wheels of his chair, still and heavy. "They towed it at night," he said quietly. I didn't even hear it. That was the moment the calm feeling of the morning disappeared, because towing a disabled man's van wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, and someone had made it intentionally. If you enjoy the video, please subscribe. I walked to Karen's house that afternoon. She was in the driveway, inspecting someone's lawn like it had personally offended her. Her golf cart sat beside her with a clipboard and a binder thick with violation notices. "Karen," I said. She didn't look surprised to see me, just mildly annoyed. "Yes?" "You had Henry's van towed. It violated HOA parking standards. It's wheelchair accessible. That's not relevant." Her tone was flat, bureaucratic, like she was reading from a script. "He's disabled," I said. "He can apply for an accommodation." I blinked. "Apply?" She nodded. "Forms are on the HOA website. Processing takes 30 to 60 days. 30 to 60 days. Without his van. "You towed it overnight," I said slowly, "without warning." "There was a warning." She pointed to the orange sticker, the one we'd found after the van was already gone. "That's not a warning," I said. "That's documentation." Karen smiled slightly, that thin HOA smile. "If he wants the vehicle released, he'll need to pay the tow fee and storage." "How much?"
$800 so far. Henry lived on disability checks. Karen knew that. You can't seriously think this is okay. Her smile widened just a little. The rules apply to everyone. By evening, the story had spread through the neighborhood, but not the way I expected. Karen told people Henry had been ignoring HOA regulations for months, that his van was an eyesore, that it lowered property values. People who barely knew him started repeating it. You know how HOAs are. He should have followed the rules. I heard the van was leaking oil. Rumors move faster than truth in quiet neighborhoods. Within 2 days, Henry couldn't get a ride to physical therapy. His grocery delivery was delayed, and Karen sent him another notice. Daily violation fines, $100 per day, because the van was still registered to the property. That's when I stopped trying to reason with her and started paying attention instead. Because something about Karen's confidence felt rehearsed, too smooth, like she'd done this before. So I started looking. HOA financial reports, public county records, tow company permits. It took 3 nights, but eventually the pattern showed itself. Karen's brother owned the towing company, and the HOA contract guaranteed exclusive towing rights. Every violation, every tow, every storage fee, money flowing in a quiet little loop. Residents towed, fines issued, payments collected. Family business thriving. Technically legal, but morally rotten. But there was one detail Karen had overlooked. Our state has very strict laws about towing vehicles belonging to disabled residents, especially if they're medically necessary, and especially if there's no documented prior notice. I checked Henry's mailbox camera, then my own driveway camera, then the neighbor across the street. No notice posted until after the tow truck arrived, meaning the warning didn't exist. Karen hadn't just been cruel, she'd been illegal. Still, I needed proof that would hold up, so I waited and let her think she'd won.
3 days later, Karen showed up at Henry's driveway with 2 HOA board members, clipboards in hand. She spoke loudly enough for the whole street to hear. Failure to resolve violations will result in lien proceedings. Henry just sat quietly in his chair. He looked tired, defeated. Karen mistook that silence for surrender, which was exactly what I needed, because at that exact moment, a sheriff's cruiser turned onto our street, then another. Karen's voice faltered mid-sentence. The first deputy stepped out slowly. "Morning," he said. "Which one of you is Karen Whitfield?" Karen raised a hand cautiously. "I'm the HOA president." "Yes, ma'am," he said. "We're aware." He opened a folder. County received a complaint regarding unlawful towing of a disabled access vehicle. Karen's smile came back, thin, professional. That vehicle violated HOA parking standards. The deputy nodded. Maybe. Then he held up a printed screenshot. Security camera footage. Time-stamped. Tow truck lifting Henry's van at 2:47 a.m. No warming sticker. No notice. Nothing. You're required under state law to provide written notice 24 hours prior when the vehicle belongs to a disabled resident, the deputy said. Karen's confidence cracked slightly. Well, the notice was posted. The deputy flipped to the next photo. My camera, time-stamped after the tow, her brother placing the sticker on the mailbox. Silence spread across the street. Karen's face turned pale. "That looks like post-event documentation, ma'am," the deputy said calmly. Another deputy spoke up. "We also reviewed the HOA tow contract." He paused. "Interesting family connection with the tow operator." Karen didn't answer. The first deputy closed the folder. "You'll need to contact the tow company and have that van returned immediately." "And the fines?" Karen asked weakly. The deputy looked at her like she'd just asked if gravity was optional. "All fines are void." Then he added one more line. "And the county will be issuing a civil penalty for unlawful towing." Karen's shoulders dropped. The van came back that afternoon. Lift intact, tank full. Tow company apologizing like their business license depended on it, which it probably did. Henry rolled down his ramp slowly when it arrived, ran his hand across the side panel like someone greeting an old friend. He looked over at me. "You didn't have to do all that." I shrugged. Seemed like the right thing. Across the street, Karen's golf cart sat untouched in her driveway. 2 weeks later, the HOA board voted to remove her as president, something about liability concerns. The neighborhood got quiet again after that, the kind of quiet I moved here for. Mornings returned to coffee on the porch, Henry watering his flowers, the van parked exactly where it belonged. I've learned something over the years. People like Karen mistake quiet people for weak ones, but quiet doesn't mean powerless. Sometimes it just means we're patient, and patience is very dangerous for people who break the law. So I'm curious, have you ever dealt with an HOA or neighbor who thought they were above the rules? What happened? Tell me your story.